Hello everyone and welcome to Game 2 of MouZHasuObs versus coLMinigun. This is going to be a PvP on Terminus. This is Game 2 of a best of 3 played on Battle.net. In Game 1 we saw a very nice timing, attack, and pin by coLMinigun, where Minigun basically stayed on one base and allowed HasuObs to expand, putting him a little behind in the army game. Then while Minigun just built up quite a nice army of, I believe, 3 Colossus and a lot of Zealots. With just a few Stalkers. And some very nice control by Minigun, where he used those Zealots to pin the forces of HasuObs back, while his Colossus dealt a lot of damage, allowing him to take out a lot of the Zealots and Stalkers of HasuObs' army, and allowing him to just place a forward pylon right in front of HasuObs' base and keep warping in units there while he expanded on his own, pinning HasuObs to 2 bases and macroing up more of an army. And once he knew that he was in a good position, he just pushed into the base and was able to overwhelm the forces of HasuObs, bringing us into Game 2. So that puts coLMinigun, who has spawned here in the 6 o'clock position on Terminus, in a lead 1-0 against HasuObs. As I said, coLMinigun has spawned here in the 6 o'clock position as the blue Protoss, while MouZHasuObs has spawned in the 12 o'clock position here as the yellow Protoss. This is a little bit of a bigger map, so I wouldn't be surprised to see both players expand and maybe go for a little bit more of a macro style play. On these bigger maps, it is common to try to go for a little bit more economic focused plays, just because as long as you are scouting your opponent and you are scouting the front of their base, you can know right when they're pushing out, and it gives you time to macro up an army, and it gives you a little bit of that defender's advantage that says, because your opponent is having to move across the field to your base, that you should, in theory, be able to get a bit bigger of an army just by the time he comes. And because you are right at your base, your units are going to be warping in right where the fight is happening, meaning you are getting your units directly into that fight, and so you always have a little bit of an advantage when you are defending. So there's always something to be gained and something to be lost when you attack. When you attack, you are being the aggressor and you are always testing your opponent. You're always pushing and poking for holes, and a lot of times you can catch your opponent off guard if you're the one that's on the offense. But you always have to remember that when you're defending, you always do have just a little bit of an advantage, just because your units are warping in directly to the front lines of the fight, whereas yours may have to walk across the entire field, or in the case of Protoss, wherever your forward pylon is located and wherever you are warping units in from. Both players going for pretty identical builds right now. Both players have gotten their 2 gas up. Both players going for a couple, Minigun has 2 gateways now. Both players researching that warp gate tech. 1 gateway up for HasuObs, and he is training a couple of Stalkers. Looks like he is going to be trying to apply some early pressure here that both players, I believe, have now scouted each other. Yes, both players know where the other has spawned. And so both players just producing a couple of Stalkers here to maybe try to apply some early pressure. MouZHasuObs does have 3 Stalkers moving across the field, I believe, right now. He's got 2 at the moment. I thought I saw a 3rd somewhere, but let's see, there's that 3rd, I guess, coming out right now. If we check out the units tab, yeah, that is his 3rd Stalker that is now coming out onto the field. The worker count pretty much identical, 24 to 24 right now. Neither player expanding yet. Both players have a few Stalkers on the field. We're going to have a 2 versus 2 Stalker battle here. A nice little bit of micro there by Minigun. Microed those Stalkers back just in time, so that he only took shield damage, balanced the damage very nicely on his Stalkers, and was able to do some actual real damage to the Stalkers of HasuObs. You can see that this Stalker here took some actual damage, but there is now there are 3 Stalkers here moving in, and very nice, again, some micro there by HasuObs. Was able to do a lot of damage to that Stalker. Nice little bit of micro there. Both players just trying to pull back those damaged Stalkers. And we have a 3 versus 3 Stalker battle here. Looks like HasuObs, though, has realized that he is in a little bit of a losing position here, as Minigun does still have a Stalker at full health and shields, and his have all taken damage. So he's just pulling back to the Zelnaga tower. This is a good move here by MouZHasuObs, just being able to take this tower and just hold. Both players actually taking opposite Zelnaga towers. I don't know if they can see each other. No, they don't have sight on each other. I was gonna say if they can see each other, they can just sit and wave and look at each other from across the map. More stalkers now moving out by Minigun. No expansions going up by either player, so both players looking like they're going for a bit more of an army style play. I'm not sure who's at an advantage here. Both players, Minigun did have a probe there in the fight, but now more stalkers have joined the fight here for both players, meaning that, oh man, Minigun tried to micro that one stalker back. He is in a bit of an advantageous position here as he has 3 stalkers up now at full health, and he might pick off that one stalker by MouZHasuObs. Looks like he is moving in, but there are some more forces in here moving in from MouZHasuObs. That is exactly what I was talking about before. He pushed it all the way to his base, meaning that his forces still have to move across the map since he does not have a forward pylon up yet, and MouZHasuObs was able to just macro up some units here, right here at the front of his base, meaning that he was able to defend that attack quite easily. There are more forces here moving across the field for coLMinigun. I believe on the army tab we have a very, very close fight here. We have, interesting. We have a little bit more stalker production here from Minigun. Minigun has 8 stalkers with 1 sentry, so he's going for a little bit more of a damage-oriented play, trying to see if he can kite. Well, I thought MouZHasuObs had more zealots than this, but no, I am wrong. There's only 1 zealot here to absorb some of the damage, because that is what zealots are commonly used for in this PvP matchup. Zealots are used to try to absorb some damage, while the stalkers and the colossus are able to do some damage. One colossus now up on the fields here for MouZHasuObs. No colossus yet down for coLMinigun. I don't even know if he has the tech for it. I haven't checked in the base. No, he actually has a Twilight Council in his base, so he might be producing some High Templar. He has researched the blink, so these stalkers, yes, we are seeing some very nice blink micro going down there by Minigun. As those stalkers take damage, he is just blinking them back. You always have to remember, people tend to forget that these stalkers, once they've taken damage, they tend to think, oh man, they're practically dead, they're practically worthless. When this stalker is at no health, people say, oh, 2 health, that stalker is practically worthless. But no, you have to remember that a stalker, even at 1 health, is still going to deal damage. If you micro them back and they are not taking any damage, then they are still just as good as a stalker at full health. They are still dealing a lot of damage, and you haven't lost a thing. You haven't lost any units. That is basically damage done by your opponent that was just for nothing. They dealt damage to your unit, but your unit blinked back and was able to stay in the back lines, still dealing full damage. It is like you didn't lose anything at all in terms of the damage you are dealing. Very nice. 1 zealot here at the front. See how it is taking that damage while these stalkers are able to do lots of damage. Some nice blink micro there by Minigun as he blinks back those stalkers that have taken damage. He was able to snipe that Colossus, so he did lose that little lead, but he really needs to pull back here. I think this is more than he can deal with at the moment. This is a lot of stalkers here, and he has the high ground. Minigun does not have sight up onto that high ground, so he really needs to be careful with his units. There is now a second Colossus on the field, so that is yet another reason why Minigun needs to pull back. The extended thermal lance is not up yet, so that means MouZHasuObs has to be very careful with this this Colossus. But man, this is a lot of stalkers. More and more stalkers just pouring in here for Minigun. Nice blink in there to take out that stalker, but I think he is going to lose the rest of these forces to these zealots and to these stalkers. Some very nice blink play by Minigun. So in tech, you can see that Minigun went for a little bit more. He was using his gas to research that tech. He's trying to get his stalkers in a better place. Did he get any upgrades? No, there are no upgrades down for either player. But Minigun used that extra gas to get that blink up, whereas MouZHasuObs is using that gas to get these extra colossi up. So we do have an interesting battle here going on. We have some interesting 2 different styles of tech going up against each other. It is all going to come down to how well these units are controlled and whether Minigun can use that blink to really negate the effects of that Colossus. He really needs to force that Colossus back. I would really like to see some extended thermal lance up here from MouZHasuObs. I wouldn't mind seeing some more zealots going up, saving up some of that gas to try to get that extended thermal lance. That would really give him a big advantage, as his Colossus would be able to sit way back, probably out of even the blink range. The units would be able to blink up, but I don't think they'd be able to blink up quite far enough. He'd be able to micro those Colossus back quite easily. coLMinigun still planning his forces out here. Not warping in any more stalkers, though. I don't see any more stalkers being warped in right now. All his warp gates are up right now and able to warp in, but he's not warping in more units, so it looks like he is just going for this expansion, and he's going to try to see if he can, again, pin MouZHasuObs back there onto less bases while he expands. So his expansion is right now ahead of MouZHasuObs, who is just now throwing up his Nexus there. If any of you guys were wondering about that supply depot at the bottom of the ramp, this is the GSL Terminus, where they do have that supply depot placed at the bottom of the ramp. It is a neutral supply depot placed there just to stop any kind of early pressure. That was something that the map designers placed there, just to stop those early pylon wall-ins, anything like that, any tricky early pressure stuff. It tries to discourage some of that. MouZHasuObs now moving across the field. He does have an Immortal in the mix to try to deal with all those stalkers. Immortal is a very good counter to those stalkers. They do a lot of damage and take very little damage with their hardened shields. That reduces all damage they take to just 10 damage. Just 10 damage for any damage that they take, any big damage that they would take. So even hits from siege tanks and things only do 10 damage to those Immortals' hardened shields. MouZHasuObs pushing back those Blink Stalkers by Minigun. Minigun having to retreat to his base. He does have a lot of Zealots here. That is for the purposes that we were talking about before, but he really needs to be careful. These Colossus are going to make short work of those Zealots. Those Zealots now moving in, trying to get into a good position to pin those forces back so that those Blink Stalkers can deal a lot of damage, but man, like I said, he really needs to be careful. Minigun is going to need to be really careful about how he controls those units. The Extended Thermal Lance is just now starting, so that means that those Colossus are going to have to stay fairly close into that fight. But that splash damage that they do, if you've ever seen those Colossus attack, they attack in a line. They have a big line. See that how they deal damage in a line, meaning that if those Zealots are pushed right up against those Stalkers here, each shot. Oh, charge is now up for those Zealots. Those Zealots are charging right in, trying to hold those forces back, while those Stalkers blink into the back to try to take out these Colossus. But man, this is a lot of forces here by MouZHasuObs. I don't know if he's going to be able to hold this. Those Zealots are just going down so fast. No Colossus down for Minigun, and Minigun is forced to GG. Minigun was unable to deal those damage. Those Zealots, he did go for that Zealot heavy mix, which is a very good mix to have, but against a few Colossus, those Zealots just melt away really fast. A very nice force field at the bottom of the ramp by MouZHasuObs to prevent all those reinforces from coming in, because he did take out this pylon. He knew that if he just force fielded that ramp, those forces would be pinned back, and Minigun just, there wasn't much he could do to take out this force. That Colossus won the fight for him. He tried to use that blink to try to get in, deal some damage to those Colossus, but was just unable to really deal the kind of damage he needed to with these Immortals here, with this Immortal here, and these not Blink Stalkers. They were just able to deal a lot of damage while those Colossus just finished up the Zealots of coLMinigun. This means that we are 1-1, everyone, in the matchup of coLMinigun versus MouZHasuObs. This means we are going into Game 3 in a moment.